Dr. Lesley Rigg came on board as Brock University's new President and Vice-Chancellor in August. She comes to Niagara from Western, where she served as Vice President Research and a Professor of Geography. Dr. Rigg, welcome to the program. Welcome to Niagara. Let's dig a bit deeper into your 25 years of academic and research leadership career. So before Western, where were you?
So before Western, I was at the University of Calgary for 5 years as the Dean of Science. And before that, I was in the States for 18 years, actually. I was at Northern Illinois University, which was a regional comprehensive institution, very similar to Brock. And I had worked my way through from assistant professor up to full professor. And then I ended up going into administration at that institution. And I left there to come back to Canada. When I left there, I was the Vice President for Research and Innovation. And I ended up I grew up in Canada, so I grew up in Toronto, and I went to the States for my master's to Boulder, Colorado, and then I did my PhD in Australia. So, I've sort of hit the universities and other institutions of higher education across lots of different countries in my path. So it's been quite exciting.
You are focused on ecology. You're an ecologist, a biogeographer. Has that always been your focus from the beginning of your academic career?
No, I mean, I think I personally think the most amazing thing about a university is that it's a time of discovery, right? A student comes into a campus and they think they know what they want to do. But I think one of the purposes of a university is to enable students to discover what their passion is. So I was an anthropology major, and no offense to my anthropologist colleagues, but as part of my anthropology major at York University, I had to do a physical geography class. And so I was forced to take this class, and I sat in there, and as the professors, we had 3 different professors go through and talk about different aspects of physical geography. I realized that this was really interesting. And so I changed my major to geography, physical geography, and I actually started off in hydrology. So I was very interested in landscapes and water. And then I did 2 different research projects as an undergraduate, one in the Hudson's Bay lowlands with Professor Nigel Roulet, working on methane emissions and hydrology. And so that was really interesting. And then the next summer, I worked in Belize in Central America with a different professor on a vegetation project on species diversity in rainforests. And I just fell in love with being in the field, and vegetation and sort of the ecology, that it had much more history. You can walk into a forest and a forest tells you the history of the last 500 years. And so I really did just fall in love with vegetation change, the importance of vegetation in our lives. We can relate to that here in Niagara with the wine industry. I think that every single person has a connection to vegetation and to plants and to the ecology, to animals and to the environment. And so, being here in a biosphere reserve, UNESCO biosphere reserve, it's an amazing opportunity. But yeah, I think I didn't go into university knowing that that's what I wanted to do.
Let me use that as a segue then into my next question. Why Brock? Why Niagara? And maybe I'll open that up and say, what do you see as Brock's role in, I guess, continuing some of your interests on the ecology and biogeography side?
I was at Western and I had come back to Ontario, and having grown up in Ontario, you love where you grew up, right? And you have a deep connection to it. And so for me, I was very connected to the ecology of Southern Ontario, but also the boreal forest. And as a researcher in the States, actually, I dragged my graduate students up to Lake Superior Provincial Park every year. I had a National Science Foundation project up there with my research collaborator. And so I was still very connected to being back in Canada and specifically in Ontario. I loved my role at Western. I loved being a vice president for research. It was definitely a dynamic job. And I know it took a very special opportunity to pull me away from that. And so when I was talking to the group that was running the search for this position, And I came down to the region. I revisited it after many years. And what I loved about Brock was the comprehensive nature of what it does. Its reputation across the country for student experience, its dedication to the community. I mean, the thing that I looked for, I always want to make sure that if I'm at an institution, that institution is connected to the environment within which it sits. So, and that environment isn't just physical, it's the social, it's the cultural, it's the ag, it's everything, right? And Brock, I would say, is not in Niagara. I'd say it's of Niagara, right? It came, and you and I were talking before the camera started rolling about the fact that Brock was, started. It was a grassroots institution, and it was started by a group of women. And so for me, that was something that really appealed to my sensibilities. And the fact that Brock sits, as I just said, in a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, the fact that it has a reputation across the country for student experience. I'm so dedicated to student experience because of my own history as a student. University absolutely changed my life, right? It changed the direction. As we said, I had no idea where I was going. And the doors that were open for me were just unbelievable. So if I was going to go somewhere as a president, it had to be a university that opened doors, that enabled students who were coming onto campus to find their passion, to feel that they belonged in a community, and to know that the institution that they were attending was having an impact in the region. So Brock just sort of hit all those targets for me. And I have to say, it hasn't disappointed. So I've only been here for just over 4 months. As I was saying to you before, I'm meeting somebody new every 30 minutes to an hour, and every single person I meet is passionate about the region, is passionate about what they do here, is passionate about the university. The students love Brock. I've met with alumni now across the country, actually, and I have not ever in my entire career, and I can say this quite honestly, met a group of alumni that are more passionate about their experience than Brock alumni. So, I even was walking on a plane one day, and the flight attendant, as I walked on, I was wearing my Brock t-shirt, and she said, "I'm a Badger." And so I started talking to her for a minute, and as I was walking away, I heard her say to the other flight attendant, "I even called my dog Badger." So, I think there's such a passion, and you don't have that passion unless you've had a really good experience. And I think, so ultimately, what brought me to Brock was that.